Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here with you on a Wednesday. We've got a good show. It's one of our regular guests, comes on once a month. Why he keeps coming back, I'm not so sure. He's a patient man, but I think you have to be patient to run a city within a city. That's the Davidson County Jail, and that would be the sheriff, Darren Hall. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick.
It's nice to have you on. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today, and we'll open up the phone lines. Funny story, not funny. Interesting story I came across overnight from a friend of mine. Remember the horrible tornadoes that made their way through Mayfield, Kentucky and destroyed a candle factory there? That was back in December, and 9 people died, and the other areas were hit around it as well. But there were some work release inmates from the Graves County Sheriff that were working in that candle factory that night. Yesterday, one of them was given an award for meritorious service. He was someone who stepped up in the time of crisis. It's very interesting. This guy was in there. Tornado hits. He's an inmate. Collapses on him, breaks his leg, fractures ribs, crawls out of the rubble. Okay, and this is an inmate again. Grabs some equipment, goes back in, starts dragging people out, saving their lives. Okay. He gets out, they're all taken to the hospital. He gets treated, and he goes up to a trooper and goes, "Hey, I'm an inmate, take me back to the jail." Jail was destroyed. He goes to a shelter with everyone else. He gets to the shelter, makes contact with the jail officials who come pick him up. I mean, this is a guy who just did everything right, and he was given this award for service because he saved lives. And it was interesting to me. I know you have inmates out on work release, and sometimes people question, well, what qualifies them to be out on work release? You're not letting out the killers and folks like that. But this guy goes out there and does this. Now, I don't know that you know an inmate. He could have ran. He could have just saved himself and not gone back in, and no one would have blamed him. That was dangerous. But look at all this guy does. And people make judgments on, oh, you're in jail, you're whatever. And here he is, he's getting out March 1st, and the sheriff's going up front with him, hoping someone hires him and helps him find a place to live and turn his life around. But I just thought that was a fact. Go to my Facebook page, Nick Barris NC5, to read it. I just wonder what you think of that. When you have workers out, and you never know what situation they may find themselves in. They don't all just run away, do they?
Yeah, no, I did not see that story, but I love that.
Isn't it great?
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, there are some stories around the country that I run into, like somewhat similar, especially when you have a disturbance, or I've even seen officers who've had a heart attack inside an institution and the inmates have saved their life because of, obviously there was a person in need. And but yeah, it's hard for people to really believe this or understand this, but these are human beings, and they make bad decisions just like most of us do. And yes, they need to be, as I like to tell people, yes, they need to be in timeout. They've done something wrong, and let's deal with that, whatever that is. But in the end, they're humans. They're 99% of them are going home, and so you would hope that person, whether it's because he's learned his lesson, maybe it's because in time of need he reacted. A lot of people who've never been to jail wouldn't have handled all those circumstances. Right.
You don't know how you're going to react till that moment. Like I said, no one would have blamed him had he not gone back in simply at that moment. He has a broken leg and fractured ribs, and it's very dangerous, and yet he still went back in. You're right. Anyone might have had second thoughts about doing that.
Yeah, it reminds me of 2010. We had the flood here, and as you remember, everyone was panicking, a lot going on, and I remember the mayor's office at the time was talking to, do we have any equipment we can help with? And I said, well, yeah, we had some equipment. Let me work on that. And then so we had this idea of going into the housing units and saying, who wants to go out here and help? And so we had 20, 30, 40 inmates just said, I'll do whatever, and bag sand all night. And quite frankly, it's in USA Today. They got credit for saving the water supply in the city, because we've got pictures of them standing in chest deep water and just moving bags of sand to try to secure the Omohundra water plant. And and again, some people look at that differently. I remember Mayor Dean was the mayor at the time.
Clearly, sure.
He asked me later on, he said, can I come out? So we brought him out into the housing unit and sat down with the guys. This is months afterwards, and basically thanked every one of them for getting credit for saving the water. And but that's I hate to say it, there's a lot of people who wouldn't handle themselves that way, and when put into circumstances, and also probably are judging people who've made mistakes. That look, I'm a big fan of holding someone accountable. I think you should be held accountable for whatever you do, right? There's really bad decisions made, but it's also true that that's a human being who is going to go back into our community, and 99% of the time. So I hope they learn something from what they've done. I hope they dig deep and find a better way to live and come out and be productive in our community. And what a better way to do that than in a crisis.
And he was recognized for it. I agree. I mean, that's just it. It's just in these days, you know, you just have these stereotypes that right off the bat hit if you're an inmate, and some of it's deserved. You're in jail for a reason. But I just thought that was a neat story, and he saved lives on that front. And a lot of, and by the way, when you make a call on who gets released on work release, something like that, again, what's the prototype for the type of inmate you choose to allow to do that? Because that's a privilege, isn't it?
It is, and it's a couple of little things. There is a work release board in a county that has 500,000 or more, I believe was the law. Then you have to form a board. These are community leaders. We actually get them appointed. We go to the council and nominate these folks. So there's a board, and they review the cases. We put forward the case. Nick Barris is doing a 5-year sentence or a 5-month sentence. Here's his history. Here's his assaultive history. If there is any escape histories, he can work at Waffle House, or they're trying to hire him at a construction site. So you have to have proof of employment, proof of your criminal history, and how's your behavior in the jail itself. Where are you in your sentence? And then they vote, nominate, and recommend you to be placed on work release. If you get it, what happens is you live there with us. You work at wherever the employment is. We actually take your paycheck, not you. We take your paycheck. We pay the court costs. We pay the child support. We pay the restitution, whatever else you owe. And what's left is left in an account. We manage that account for you, at least, and hold it. We do not manage it. And then we hand you the check on the way out, what's left. So
it's a great program.
And then you get out, and hopefully you stay productive in that employment. It's, you know, one other thing, Nick, that I think people wouldn't think about is in this job, for as long as I've been in it, a lot of people go to jail. I don't get to know all the inmates that are in our system. There's no way. It's fair to say that they probably know or recognize me, whether it's a picture or whether it's me walking by. I don't really know how that is, but you wouldn't believe how many times in my life I'm walking around Nashville and someone will walk up, and actually it happens the same way every time. There's this kind of smile, like, hey. And what it is they want me to know that they're out and that they're being productive. I'm working. I mean, I've had them. I mean, I was at Wendy's, I don't know, last couple of months, and the person handing me my food through the window was doing there. And so in the background, the person leaned over and goes, Mr. Hall, Mr. Hall. And he goes, remember me? Of course, he knew I wouldn't, but he goes, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. And so to me, there's nothing better than that. I get that a lot, and people don't really understand that individual's made a mistake. Now he's working at Wendy's, and pat him on the back.
I mean, that's exactly, you know, just talking about people seeing and knowing you. Now, you don't get to know all the inmates. Do you think you know, and I'm not putting you on the spot because I can't remember this woman's name. I was shopping yesterday, and she came up to me, Marion or something like this, and she works in the jail section. She was actually around Travis Reinking, and she came up to me, as a lot of people did after that trial, was very nice, and just said, I watched the whole time and all this. Oh, what's your name? I always ask people what their names are when they approach me. And she goes, oh, and I work at the jail. I go, oh, so you know Darren Hall. He's coming on a big show tomorrow, and I'm going to put in a word for you for a raise. She goes, oh, no. And I'm like, well, she goes, he probably doesn't know who I am. And I bet he does. And I'm sorry, on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember who she was, but she did talk about Ryan King, seeing him on a regular basis. And she mentioned to me about when she brought him back after his conviction, before he was processed and moved on. And she just said, yeah, it seemed like he, you know, had received the treatment, was medicated, understood what happened to him, and was on his way. He kind of nodded, smiled a bit to her, or whatever. It doesn't talk much, like you said. And she just said that was it. No problems when he came back. And then he shuffled off, gone. That's it.
Yeah, the other thing that the society or the public wouldn't understand is we live with these people. What does that mean? I mean, the police interaction is very limited.
Right.
The prosecution is very limited. Even the lawyers are very limited.
She knew this guy.
You live with them. You feed them. You get up. You live 24 hours a day. Someone's living with that person. And you take this person who lived there for 4 years. I mean, it's incredible. And there's, you know, there's a lot written about this out there. You can look into it. But you know, it's just part of what you do every day. And all of a sudden to see this as a human being, even though what he did was horrendous, and obviously he's now found guilty, as he should be. The court system has done its job. But it doesn't take away the fact that you live there. I mean, some people, my mom watched Gavel to Gavel. She keeps up with all of you guys, and on the trial, loves those things. And but the truth is, people watch that trial for 2 weeks and think they get to know that person because of what they hear. That may be true. But imagine living with them for 4 years. I mean, you know, every day. And
that's where you pick up everything.
You learn, you need, and also, whether you admit it or not, you become attached. And that doesn't mean you don't believe you should be held accountable and the process isn't fair, but you become attached to them and how you're dealing with that and how you live every day. And yeah, there are knuckleheads in there who still don't behave once they get in jail.
Right.
But there's also people who go and try, if you want to say it this way, try to live within the rules that are there. And, you know, and it becomes a part of who you are. I mean, you can't help that.
Yeah.
It's
Do you think there are people who watch this program that think they know us? And they might think, but I mean, would they be surprised to know that off camera, when we go to commercial break, he's a tyrant? I mean, he's very nice on air and cordial and laugh. He's got a very sweet smile. But off camera, how many times have you made Carlette cry in your career? How many times have you made her cry?
That feels sexist. Why couldn't she make me cry?
Well, she could, but you're her boss. That's why I'm asking.
Well, yeah,
so,
but maybe it works.
Or is she technically kind of one who really runs the show?
Well, I think it's this way. I think we both know you. I bet the listeners know you.
I think we all know who runs the show here.
Yes.
And you haven't made me cry yet. All right, we'll take a break. He's not a tyrant. What you see is what you get. Actually, and the truth is, and your mom, who I know is watching probably, knows this as well. If you watch anyone on TV long enough, I think in the biz, over and over, especially on an hour-long show like this, you're going to be able to pick up whether or not they're real or fake or goofy as heck as I am. We'll take a break. We'll be back. We already have some phone calls coming in for the sheriff, and we have some other things to talk with him about. If you have a question or comment for the Davidson County Sheriff, we'll take them right after this. Stay with us.